I could go to the next slide. Oh yeah. And then this meeting will be recorded up until the breakout rooms. So the breakout rooms themselves won't be recorded, but everything else will be recorded just for your reference. And we're gonna get started with a few announcements first. All right, we don't have too much going on now. It's midterms week and we're almost done with the quarter, but here are all the committee meetings for SHPE UCI. Events, you can feel free to look at the emails that we send out every week. And next slide. And then for those of you who are interested in a Medtronic panel, we'll be having a panel of engineers from Medtronic coming out for our general meeting for SHPE UCI's general meeting this Wednesday at 7 p.m. In collaboration with SWE and NSB for those of you who are interested. Did you skip one? Was it not like an IEEE one?
It's after this.
Oh, okay, got it. All right, so for all of you who came out today, I'm sure you probably found out through email that we sent out through the message of engineering, or I personally reached out to your organization. But a good way to keep track of all of the events that we have, just like the one today, is to connect with us and follow all of our social media pages, including our Facebook and our Discord and Instagram. That's where we promote the events just like this. And then IEEE at UCI will be having a Raspberry Pi workshop this Friday at 6 p.m. For those of you who are interested, it's completely beginner friendly and you'll be learning how to set up your own server. So yeah, if you're interested in something like that, feel free to come out to that. All right, now we're actually gonna get started with the event. So we will be doing panelist introductions, beginning with, actually, let me give a few details. So panelists, keep in mind, since we have limited time, try to keep this under 2 minutes. I will probably send you a little friendly reminder 30 seconds before the 2 minutes are up, just to tell you to start wrapping things up and finish your thoughts. But other than that, let's get started with first up being Maral from SpaceX.
Hello, everybody. My name is Maral Abosinik. I studied mechanical engineering at UCI, graduate 2018. And in the meantime, I was taking aerospace classes, doing a double major. The projects I worked on while I was at UCI was Hyperloop. Our team name was Hyperside. We were lucky enough to win the design and compete. I think 3 or 4 times. I was part of competition 1 and competition 2. For competition 1, I was a power lead, and for competition 2, I was one of the system engineers. And that kind of helped me land an internship at SpaceX. So I was able to get an internship at SpaceX for harness design engineering. The summer previous that, I was a Harvard engineer at Panasonic Avionics Corporation. I'm originally from Tehran, Iran, and I moved to the United States 8 years ago. I also want to point out that I went to community college for 2 years. I started my studying there, and then I transferred to UCI after 2 years, and I finished my engineering degree at UCI. Next slide, please. And then after I finished my internship at SpaceX, I was offered a full-time position. I was a system engineer at SpaceX for almost 2.5 years. I was privileged to work on Falcon and Dragon. Dragon for Demo 1 and Demo 2, and Cirrus 21. And then after that, I moved to Starship program, and currently I'm a build engineer too, working on critical projects. And my hobbies are rock climbing, backpacking, and surfing. I like to spend a lot of time in nature and try different sports.
Thank you, Maral. And I really like that you did highlight that you started at community college because a decent amount of our members also are transfers. So thanks for that.
Sure.
All right, next up we have Giovanni from Northrop Grumman Space Systems.
Hi. Yeah, so my name is Jeovanny. So I graduated from Cal State LA back in 2018 with my bachelor's in electrical engineering. I focused mostly in power and control systems, although I had a higher interest in control systems than power. And because of that, I actually got involved with a lot of different student projects involving robotics and mechatronics and that sort of thing. I was heavily involved with the SHPE student chapter at Cal State LA, but also with the American Society of Mechanical Engineers. And so with my involvement with SHPE, that was more of a professional type of development. So developing my leadership skills, my communication skills, networking with other students and professional engineers, that sort of stuff. And with ASME, I was actually developing my technical skills. So I started off first as a small individual contributor, doing small tasks like helping to develop some code, helping to put together some electrical circuits. And then I essentially moved up to a more leadership role. I moved up to a electrical power subsystems lead and software lead. So I got more into depth with like interfacing different types of systems, learning to program different hardware settings and things like that. But my interest was a lot more having to do with like navigation and control of those type of systems. And then from my experience, I had actually two internships. My first internship was with Raytheon in Tucson, Arizona, and the second one was with Northrop Grumman. And so with Northrop Grumman, that actually transitioned over to a full-time role as a guidance, navigation, and controls engineer. And as a guidance, navigation, and controls engineer, I do a lot of software development. So a lot of flight control software that goes into like the actual rocket, modeling of different systems like IMUs, thrust vector control system, that sort of stuff. And a fun fact about myself is I'm actually moving to Utah this summer as part of the company. And last but not least, my advice is, I guess, don't be afraid to ask for help. And that's one of the things that I've kept throughout through my career.
Thank you, Giovanni. All right. So I would like to mention, Milena said it in the chat as well. So we'll be taking in questions for the Q&A that's going to be in around 10 minutes. She posted a Slido link, and you could put your question there. You'll have a bunch of people putting in questions, and everybody upvotes the question that they actually want answered during the Q&A, since we have limited time and we want to answer the questions that you actually want answered. So click that link over there. Then next up we have, Milena, click the slide. Azucena from Virgin Orbit.
Hey everyone, my name is Azucena Jimenez. I am a UC San Diego alumni. I graduated last year in 2020 with my bachelor's in aerospace engineering, and then a minor in business. Part of the orgs that I was involved with in college were the Students for the Exploration and Development of Space, which is long for SEDS. I was also involved in SHPE, the UCSD chapter. I'm not sure if this is an event across the board of all SHPE chapters, but I was a leader in several of the Empower conferences, which is basically hosting high school students and exposing them to engineering. And then I was also part of the IDEA Student Center, which is basically a group at UCSD for minorities in engineering. So my first and only internship experience was at Virgin Orbit, which is where I am now full-time. So I interned in 2019, the summer before my graduation. And then some fun facts about me. I love the beach. I love to hike near the beach. And then I spend most of my time being a full-time dog mom of two very spoiled corgis that you can see on the bottom there. Yeah, you can move on to the next slide. So my current position at Virgin Orbit, I am a propulsion components test engineer. So most of my time, I am taking care of development, qualification, and production testing campaigns. of several rocket engine components. That includes valves, injectors, pressure regulators, instrumentation, sensors, etc. Once in a while, I get to work on a little bit more interesting test campaigns like anomaly investigations, and I'm also helping improve our test area for production. Basically, the way I landed this job is I got to prove myself at Virgin Orbit. I got to work on some actual flight hardware. And overall, my advice for students is definitely don't be afraid to show your personality, show your interest, and seek that out.
All right, thank you, Azucena. I really like your corgis. I mentioned that to you earlier. All right, and then we'll be moving on with Mark from Northrop Grumman Space Systems.
Hey everybody, my name is Mark Gilberto. I graduated last year, 2020, from UCI, with a major in electrical engineering and a minor in CS. I'm also a community college background, so shout out to all the transfers. It's a long, tough road, but we all get there, right? And I'm also doing a graduate degree in tandem with work over at Georgia Institute of Technology in computer science. Throughout my whole long undergrad, I had several different great opportunities that I felt like I lucked into. I was an undergrad researcher at Louisiana State University. I was an electrical engineer technician, so sort of like a doctor when it came to broken circuit boards that were meant for power management in a nearby company in Irvine called Iris Technology. And that's really where my desire or my likes, not necessarily a huge passion, toward defense came in just because of the use cases, and then just found my way over to Northrop Grumman, where my passion for space really started to develop because of the awesome things that we do at our sites over in Azusa. So could we go to, oh, actually, just a description for that picture. That's me and my bud over at a basketball game with NBA championship winner Doc Rivers. But anyways, could we see the next slide, please? All right, yeah, so pretty straightforward here. By definition, I'm an associate electronics engineer. That satellite is supposed to be sort of the marquee for what Northrop makes. It's actually in partnership with Lockheed Martin. It's called the SBIRS, or Space-Based Infrared Satellite. So it's geared for civil and military purposes. So for instance, when the California wildfires happened, the various people over at my site was there to help monitor and direct the firefighters to get away from the hot spots, pretty much. I also do some development on my end, host at a summit. So that was pretty cool. Whole day development, and hobbies, weightlifting, huge sports fan when it comes to LA, Dodgers and Lakers, you know, all day.
All right. Thank you, Mark. Thanks for repping the transfers. Next up, we have Jacqueline from Virgin Orbit.
Hey everybody, I'm Jacqueline. Thanks for having me. Super excited to talk with you guys today. So I went to the University of Minnesota. I'm originally from the Midwest, graduated in 2017 in aerospace engineering. And really the kind of defining thing for me and my college experience was participating in rocket team, which is what we called our rocket group. I know they kind of go by different names everywhere. That was incredibly valuable experience. I learned so much through doing that, both on the technical skills and things I didn't learn in the classroom, and then also just, you know, the project skills and working with other people and things like that. Sorry, laughing at your rocket projects. So that is my number one piece of advice. Get involved in student design projects. They're so valuable. And my experience there is really what landed me both of my internships pretty explicitly. So I did one internship with UTC Aerospace Systems, which makes commercial aircraft components. And then I did another one with Virgin Orbit, which then I ended up continuing full time. So I also did some other stuff in college, and we can talk about that a little bit more in the breakout session. If you could go to the next slide. So yeah, I'm a propulsion structures engineer. So basically what I do is I am a structural engineer, but I'm focusing specifically on our engine system. So I'm basically trying to make sure that we are transferring the thrust we're creating with the engine safely into the rest of the rocket, making sure that our engines can survive the G-loading they're experiencing, and a lot of fatigue due to vibration is a problem in aerospace systems. So I'm kind of a hybrid between a propulsion engineer and a structures engineer, which is really fun. I get to learn a lot of stuff from both disciplines. My focus is on design and analysis. So if you're interested in that, happy to chat about it more in the breakout session. And outside of work, I love cooking, hiking, playing sports, and video games, especially virtual reality. I really love that. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, Jacqueline. Thank you. And next up, we have Nick from Lockheed Martin Space.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. It's around 9 p.m. here. I think I'm the only one on the East Coast. But thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. So I'm going to be an incoming associate systems engineer for Lockheed Martin Military Space. I just graduated with my master's in electrical engineering. And I also, a year before that, I graduated with my bachelor's. I'm originally from New York, and my main hobbies involve space, but I also love music and basketball. Next slide, please. So how did I get, into the whole space, journey? Basically, I, through internships and extracurriculars, as a lot of the panelists have been mentioning. So I interned for Collins Aerospace with their power and government systems. That was basically for like military helicopters, powering their lights, their avionics and controls. For L3 Harris, I worked on like commercial airplane antennas and testing them, and also did some satellite receiver test scripting. And then I was supposed to intern with Virgin Orbit this past summer with the avionics team, but unfortunately, COVID had other plans for us all. But nonetheless, I was able to find some space things. And throughout my time at Villanova, as you can see, I've been pretty involved. I was definitely more involved with space extracurriculars than I was maybe in some of my classes at times. But we can talk about that in the breakout rooms. But yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course, Nick. All right. Next we have Matt, one of our own actually. He's going to be graduating soon and joining SpaceX.
Yeah, all right. So thanks for having me, guys. Kind of last minute, Edwin reached out to me here, but happy to talk regardless. So yeah, so I'm from UCI here. I study aerospace engineering. I'm going to be graduating just this upcoming June. And my main involvement on campus has been with our school's rocket project. So we work on liquid rocket engines, which is always cool to do so early on. And so that started with working on our propulsion sub-team, working through our project's first static test fire. And then I sort of moved on to leadership with being a chief engineer. And from there, I've led 2 more hot fires, and you can see the most recent one is there below. In terms of internships, I've technically had 2, but really only 1. So just down the street at Parker Aerospace in their fluid systems division, working on aircraft valves. So it was a fun summer, extended that into the fall for a co-op because it was local. And then just this past summer, I would have been working at Rocketdyne in Canoga Park on turbo machinery for the RS-25 engine, which would have been super cool, but for similar reasons, COVID had other plans as well. So we can move on to the next slide. So yeah, here, this is kind of developing a little bit more, but yeah, as of last week, so I'm going to be coming to SpaceX as an integration and test engineer, supporting the Falcon 9 subassemblies team. So that's a lot of stuff under that umbrella, but I listed some of the stuff there. Stage separation, pushing the boosters away from the second stage, as well as stuff for the grid fins. And again, like I said, a lot more stuff that I probably don't know about yet until I start. But yeah, in terms of things I like to do outside of classroom and work, enjoy playing soccer, watching basketball. You can see I put LeBron there as well, because that was a good championship win this past summer. And yeah, just like doing that stuff outside the classroom. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, Matt. Thanks for coming out. All right. Next up, we have Miguel from SpaceX.
Hey, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Cool. All right. I'm Miguel Escobar. Let's see. I've graduated from UC Irvine in 2018 in computer engineering. I'm currently an ASIC verification engineer at SpaceX. I'm originally from Riverside. So I'm currently working on the Starlink project. Go onto the next slide. And then my involvements at UCI. So I was a computer science teacher, a physics learning assistant, bioinformatics research assistant, performed a lot of hackathons while at UCI, attended a lot of IEEE workshops. And I guess how I ended up at SpaceX, I was a computer science instructor at a couple of summer camps. My first internship was at IBM Research in San Jose. I was doing blockchain research. And then following that, upon graduation, became an FPGA engineer at Viasat. So they do geostationary satellites. From there, I had the opportunity to work on ASICs and to work on the Starlink project. And that was too good to pass up. So that's what I went ahead and chose. And then as far as hobbies, I would say cooking, watching Netflix, going to the gym, boxing, doing Muay Thai. And yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, Miguel. All right, next up, I believe we have, yes, Gilberto from Virgin Orbit.
Hi, can you hear me, Edwin?
Yes, you're good.
Perfect. I'm Gilberto Jimenez. You can call me Gilbert. My role at Virgin Orbit is I'm a principal launch engineer. What that means is, well, for our first, I graduated from Stanford in class of 2011 with a degree in chemical engineering. And my involvements while I was there were primarily over the summers. I worked in a lab for the Bent Research Group, working on materials, focusing on resistors and vacuum technology, which led to my first job in industry, which was in 2011. It was not in aerospace. It was for a startup out in Playa Vista that was doing novel X-ray technology before I got the job at Virgin Orbit, and have been there since 2016. My college involvements were with a group called, primarily with a group called Los Hermanos de Stanford, which was a volunteer organization that ran a scholarship fund, and Nuestra Graduación. I did take part in our SHPE chapter as well, and which was called SCLES, as well as MECHA. And I'm originally from El Paso, Texas, so shout out Chuco Town. I did graduate high school from Lubbock, Texas. And there's some nice pictures, including one of me pretending to be useful on console.
Thank you, Gilbert. All right, we will be now going to our Q&A section. So we're going to be looking at your Slido questions and see which ones were the most upvoted, and then asking them to our panelists. Yeah, Israel, do you have the Slido link? If Milena could send it to you.
Yeah, I have the link. Should I present that?
Yeah. Oh.
Okay.
Oh, okay. All right. First question from Shriyang. It's all good. All right. So for our panelists, how did you bridge the gap between the technical skills the industry demands of you and the technical skills you developed in college prior to interning? So any panelists that want to take that, feel free to unmute.
I can take that here.
Right.
So in my work, I can honestly say I never really thought about the, as a chemical engineer, I never thought about the application of aerospace. While I was in college, I'll be totally upfront about that. But I knew when I graduated college that I did not want to go work for Chevron or in the oil and gas industry. And moving fluids from point A to point B is something that you're going to be able to do in almost any industry. And I would say that what I learned in my fluid transfer classes, materials, heat transfer classes, energy, even continuous stirred tank reactors, I don't think I've ever used any of these second order equations that I learned in them, or I had to do them off the top of my head. But doing those things repetitively and doing them over and over again is really what I guess made the helped me with the fundamental assumptions that I had to power through in order to deliver our fluid delivery systems. So while not directly applicable, I think that I guess the ability to do the work and the ability to focus on a very specific technical problem is how that gap was bridged. And just like studying for a test, and just like working on something that you don't necessarily understand right now in your classes, the ability to practice it and do it over and over again is what gets you there.
Perfect. Thank you, Gilbert. All right, next question. It's what advice or encouragement do you have for people who haven't had the opportunity to have internships, especially due to COVID or simply from having less opportunities from being a transfer student?
I can chime in on this one.
Go ahead.
All right, I'm not sure. Okay, it was Jacqueline, and then which other panelist wanted to chime in? Nobody? Okay.
It was
All right,
Maral, but it's okay. I'll let Jacqueline take it.
All right, so let Jacqueline and then
Okay,
Maral.
I'll just be short and you can go slide in after. I was just gonna say the thing that internships really provide is that hands-on experience and that real world application of problems, and you can get a lot of the same benefits by participating in student design groups. So I'm probably going to sound like a broken record, but definitely if you can get involved with like hands-on design and build groups, those are going to give really, really valuable experience that can kind of, supplement if you don't have that internship experience.
Definitely. That's definitely got my internship with you guys at Virgin Orbit. So good advice. Maral, you could also chime in.
I 100% agree. I think that the internship is important because you're getting that hands-on experience, and you can show that you learn in school and you can implement it in real world. And school is great, the projects are great, but I also highly encourage just build stuff at home. Find projects and do it. If you like, just build stuff, and having that experience, it adds a lot of value, and you learn a lot, and that gives you a better understanding, and that can really show itself when you're doing your interviews and try to apply for a job.
Thank you. All right. Next question from Shrey Patel. For those of you who got in contact with recruiters to later interview for full-time positions, how did you make sure to stand out during that process?
I could add.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So one thing, I guess, first off, have a good resume, have projects to put on your resume. That's huge because, there's going to be times where there's not going to be much to talk about. And if you could fill that empty time, being passionate about projects that you worked on, talking about what problems you solved, how you solved them, that'll make you stand out. And then the second thing I would say is ask a lot of questions and ask very good questions. Interviewers love good questions. So that's my advice.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you,
and
Miguel.
I'll just
and Matt. You
can I just
chime
I'll
in.
quickly, yeah.
Yeah.
So I agree with a lot of the stuff that you said there. I think one other thing, we were mentioning recruiters here, but I think a common misconception is like, so let's say just for LinkedIn, that recruiters are the only people that you should talk to. You should 100% reach out to engineers at the companies that you're interested in. A lot of the time, they'll have more direct links to, you don't always know what positions a recruiter is recruiting for. As well as, that's the main thing, as well as just specifically for how to stand out. I agree with showing your projects. Having a portfolio is really good for that. Having that on your LinkedIn or attaching that to your message, and just showing that you have a genuine interest in the company and what they're doing is usually a really good way to kind of show that you're not just there to kind of get a job, So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely, Matt. Yeah, and I've also noticed that recruiters are probably getting messages from hundreds of other people a day on LinkedIn, so it might be better to get in contact with an actual engineer at that company. So I believe this might be our last question from Logan Slim. At what point in your careers did you begin to find your specialization?
So I know I'm kind of young compared to everyone else in their careers, but I actually found my specialization in radio frequency technology and communications through an internship, which I didn't think that's how it went. I thought, going through school, and then maybe I'll be in the business for a while, and then I'll figure it out. But after working on antennas at Harris, I was like, wow, this is something that we need in space. And I was one ring away from the space industry. And so for me, it kind of came early, where just doing hands-on projects, it kind of made me actually want to be get a master's in RF technology. So I know it's not necessarily in my career yet, but if you're lucky enough and you get that that early sort of spark, then follow that passion.
One thing I'd like to add to this is, if you find yourself in a role that you're not super happy with early on, definitely remember what you're interested in, and keep pursuing that, and let people know. I mean, it's okay to tell the people that you're working with, like, hey, I'm actually really interested in this other thing. Is there any opportunities for me to get some experience in that? And people are usually pretty open and accepting to that, because they don't want you to be unhappy and then leave the company. They would much rather help find a role that you're really excited about. So if you end up in a position that you're not super excited about, definitely keep looking and searching, and don't just settle because that's where you happen to be.
Thank you, Jacqueline. All right, well, it appears that I guess the amount of guests here are causing my other hosts to have their connections drop out. But it's all good. We'll be going to breakout rooms. So just sit tight for the next minute or so, and I will have those breakout rooms open. So just a reminder, each panelist will have their own breakout room, and said panelists, your breakout room is going to be labeled, and you will stay in your breakout room during the entire time. And students, you will be able to choose your breakout rooms that you want to be in. So if you want to talk to 2 panelists, you want to talk to 3, you want to stick with 1, you could do whatever you want. So right now we have around 90 people here. 9 of them are panelists and me. Okay. All right, so no more than 9 students in each breakout room once I open up. So including the panelist, no more than 10 people in each breakout room. Yeah. Okay. So just sit tight for another minute.